Hello everyone, my name is Jen. Welcome to my channel. This is my corner of the internet where I share all the crafts that I've been up to. So today I am doing a little crafty Christmas catch up because I thought if I waited a whole 4 weeks from my last video update, it would be too long, and I've been pretty busy. So today is Tuesday, December the 9th. Yes, the 9th. So welcome. I hope everybody is nice and warm and snug in your homes and enjoying the lead up to Christmas. Like I said, I've been busy doing things, so I want to jump into that. First though, I just wanted to say I have a bunch of new subscribers since my last WIP parade, so thank you so much for hitting that subscribe button. I guess I'll just reintroduce myself. I'm a multi-crafter and I live in Eastern Ontario, Canada. I try to do videos every month. It doesn't always work out that way. And I usually always show everything I've been working on in the videos. I don't split them up anymore. But I typically always start with cross stitch first. I know that's my biggest audience are the stitchers out there. But I also know that there's a lot of you, like myself, who like to dabble in all sorts of things. So I just want to jump right into this. We'll start with the cross stitch that I've been working on, or the handwork that I've been working on, because I do have a finish, and it's an embroidery finish. So this is from Love Embroidery magazine, and I think that's about 2 issues ago now. And it was a cover kit, but they did include the pattern in the magazine if you're a digital subscriber, which I am. So this is called, I believe, Merry and Bright, and it was designed by Claire Albans. So that was what they showed in the magazine. And this is my little finish. I just stitched this on a piece of pink linen that I have in my stash. And instead of French knots down here, I used beads, and the leaves are satin stitched, which I really need to work on. And then this lettering was a whipped back stitch, which I've never done before, and that's what actually drew me to the project, was I thought that was a really sweet effect. So yeah, nice little finish on that, and it's just, you know, backed like that. I made a pocket. And I found this cute little candy cane in my, it's just resin, in my Christmas decorations, so this is what we're doing this year. So that was my, I'm going to say first finish. That is my only stitching finish, but I do have finishes for quilting and crochet, which I'll show later. So other things I have been working on, and I would have started this after my last regular video, which I think was 3 weeks ago. So I'm making this as a gift ornament for somebody. I'm really hoping I can get it finished. It's called Wine Lover Santa. It goes pretty quickly, but I also have a lot of stuff to do. Now, at the end of my WIP parade, I said I was feeling pretty confident and about the pace that I was going on, but now I'm starting to get a little panicky, so we shall see. This is my progress on Wine Lover Santa. Now, because this is a gift, I just can't work on it whenever I want to, so it's secret stitching. So anyway, he's coming along, and I think he'll be adorable. And the grapes that are on in the picture, like here in his sack and down here, they're actually beads, which I think is a lot of fun. And I know the person who's getting this is going to love it. Okay. Then I worked on, this is a WIP that I forgot to show in my WIP parade. So I started this last year as one of the 12 projects. I think this is just called Joyeux Noël, and it's from this French magazine. So I had a subscription to this magazine, and this is the chart. And I thought that was just super pretty. I did have the graph broken down into 12 parts so that I could, you know, stitch it over the year. And of course I didn't. So I thought I'd pull that out this year. And I'm stitching this on 32 count platinum Lugana with Anchor 47, which I think is maybe. Anyway, I think that's the most perfect Christmas red. And I have a lot of it. I don't know how much I'm going to need. So I'm actually trying to do the whole 1 thread a day thing with this one just to make some progress. So I haven't ditched my other monochrome pieces, but they're just taking a little hiatus over the Christmas season. So this is where I am. I think last year I got probably 3/4 of this done, completed, the side borders. And this morning I was bored of working on the border, so I started the big snowflake up here. So it's definitely going to be a long-term project, but I really do enjoy the one color stitching, and I never thought I would. So slowly it will get finished, but you have to work on it all the time, or, you know, make an effort to work on it regularly. My Advent project is actually coming along quite well. My Advent project for cross stitch is coming along quite well. My Advent project for crochet is not going along, but we'll talk about that later. So what I chose for my Advent project is called the Baltimore Album Sampler, and it's from this magazine, Cross Stitch Christmas, Better Homes and Gardens. You could probably find this at a thrift store, which is where I found it. And it is $19.99. So this is what I'm stitching. And I wanted to change some of the colors, and I have changed some of the colors. So if you can see in the border, the roses are pink, yellow, and they're supposed to be white. Here they just use a couple shades of gray. So I wanted to take the yellow out. So I changed the yellow roses to burgundy, and I'm also going to be taking out any of the blue that you see there, and I just kind of make it up as I go. So the idea was to stitch a motif every 2 days approximately. So for the first couple of days I stitched these two and part of this one, and then because I was kind of ahead of the game, I went back and did some of the border. So I think I'm still a little bit ahead of the game, which is good. So that means today I can do some more work on the border and then get back to the motifs, because the motifs I started with were really quite simple, and yeah, they were just quite simple, so they went really quickly. But then I've started to get into a few more involved motifs. But you want to see it. You don't want to hear me just talking about it. So this is where I'm at so far. And you can see here, this is where I changed the yellow rose to a deep red. And I like that a lot. I had thought about changing the pink roses that are on each side of that to red, but I think I'll just leave it because there's quite a bit of red in there anyway. And then for the white roses, I actually just picked warmer shades of white. So the color in the middle of the rose is actually more like a tan, and then ecru and white, I think. And then I do have to do a little bit of back stitching. I don't know if you can see that. A little bit of back stitching around the white, but you had to do that in the original version anyway. So I just thought it was a little bit softer looking. And yeah, there we go. So I'm happy with that progress. If I can keep it up, I should have the quilt, like the blocks for sure, finished by the 24th, but I'm also hoping to have a good chunk of the border finished by then as well. Like if I could get half of the border finished, that would be super. So very pleased with that progress. I'm also ticking along on 'Tis the Season. So this is from Blackbird Designs, and that's in the book Home for the Holidays. So there we are. I think last time I was almost done the bird. I ran out of the red silk I was using. It was a Dinky Dyes. But I found one in my stash that's so close, I think you can't even really tell. So I've finished the bird. And then I'm just starting to work on the rest of the greens around there. So there's a very good chance that this could be finished this holiday season too, which is swell. And this is stitched on a 28 count Springfield Sage. So it's nice to work on at night because it's just like it's easy. It's an easy count of fabric. It's easy to see. The color's good. I think this is one of my new favorites. After my whip parade and seeing how close I was to finishing some things, I brought out, I think it's called Wonderful Time of Year from Country Cottage Needleworks. I do not have a cover sheet. And I finished the lettering on the bottom. So next up is just to move back down to the gingerbread men and the hearts, and then there's another border of greenery. So I don't think I could have this done by Christmas because I do have some other things that's, you know, are on a deadline. But I may get this done by the end of the year, which would be really, really great because then it's, you know, a project out of the whip pile. And yeah, then I can have it up next year. I don't really have a lot of room there, but I'll find a spot for it. Last night I also picked this up again, so I'm working on this. I think it's just called Christmas Sampler. And it's from this booklet, An Old-Fashioned Christmas, Book 2. So it has lots of lovely vintage charts in it. And last night I made a bit more progress. I finished the border at the top, did the letters, the hearts, and started in on the big heart. And this is stitched on an 18, yes, this is 18 count Ada. I think it's blue cashmere or cashmere blue. It's a lovely color. Very close to, it's very close to Springfield Sage, you know? Like maybe just a bit brighter, less sageier. But anyway, both lovely colors. And then my last cross stitch that I'm working on. So this is a new start. And where's my cover page? Anyway, it's the that little mouse from Stacy Nash. Seriously, I just had it. Anyway, you all know what it looks like. So it's the little, yeah, her name's Ginger. That's where I am. I stitched on this during the class at the Jingle Ball. This was supposed to be a finishing class for this project. I only bought the class and therefore got access to the chart a couple days before. So this is what I stitched on during the class. I'm using mostly my own threads. I'm just picking things out that I have. I'm stitching this on 18 count Bashful from Picture This Plus, and this is a very, very light pink. It's kind of washing out right now. I don't know if you can see it against there better. Nope. So yeah, normally I wouldn't take a class like this. I just wanted the chart, but I didn't know if this was going to be an exclusive like the Gingerbread House needle book from last year. So I thought, well, if I can get that pattern, because she only released it at the Jingle Ball again this year, I'll get this too. So that's why I attended the class. So I think I should probably just make a bunch of these in order to justify the cost of the class, because when I did buy my ticket, down at the bottom of the screen, you know, you can pick what currency, and so I had Canadian dollars in mine, and I thought I was being charged. I thought that the class price was showing me Canadian dollars, and it wasn't. It was US dollars. So the class ended up costing a lot more than I anticipated. But live and learn, right? So at least I got the gingerbread house needlebook kit. And I have a cunning plan for these little stitchy things. But that's it for my cross stitching. So the other things I've been working on, so I have sewing and I have crochet. So I have a finish for crochet. So I made a shawl. I had some leftover yarn, and in fact, it wasn't even my leftovers. A couple years ago, a friend gave me a sweater. She knitted me a sweater, and then when she sent me the sweater, she gave me all of the leftover yarn that she had, and it was quite a bit. So it's just been sitting here, and I thought I should just make something lovely out of it, and I did. So this is called the Top Down Shawl, and this was a free pattern on the Yarnspirations website. I don't know if it's still there, but you could probably find it somewhere. It's just simple and easy. I just plan to make it until I run out of yarn, and I probably have about 3 meters left. I didn't do the border on the bottom, which is, it's very nice, but I didn't do that. So this is the shawl, just a big triangular one. The yarn is James C. Brett Merino Chunky, I think. So this is just what it looks like. It's just this lovely kind of grayish color, but it's so soft and squishy. Like, it's just lovely. And then at the bottom, I just did an extra row. No, I just finished it off with a row of double crochet. So we have that, and I think it's plenty big enough, even though I didn't do most of the repeats, but yeah, it's totally big enough to be a shawl, so it's nice and cushy and cozy. And on a day like today when it's very, very cold here, this is perfect. But this is a gift, so I will be getting this out soon. And yeah, but it's nice to have a finish because I kind of feel like I don't have a lot at the moment, which isn't really true because I'm going to show you like 2 more finishes. Now this, I've been wanting to make this for years. This is my little Grinch. What can I say about him? Didn't take very long. I got the pattern off of Etsy. I think it used to be free somewhere, but it wasn't that expensive. I think it was $7. So I made him. The thing that I didn't do, which I should have, is turn it inside out. You know, when you start stitching and going around and around, there is a point where you turn it inside out and then the stitches just kind of look better. Well, I didn't do that, but I guess it doesn't really matter. So my plan for this guy is I want to display him with a picture. I want to cross stitch a verse from the book, The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, and then display them together. But I won't get that started this year because I need to investigate more fonts and things. I need to find a Dr. Seuss-ish looking font that I can convert into cross stitch. But he's kind of cute, eh? So his face was kind of a little hard to do, but anyway, it worked out. You know it's the Grinch when you look at him. And then another little fun project are these elf shoes. So I mentioned in my last video, excuse me, that I've been going through my older Christmas craft magazines and just finding projects that I had bookmarked and have never made. So this next project is from this issue, which is 2018, and they're little elf shoes. I thought they were kind of cute. So I made these guys. So I put bells on the toe instead of pom-poms. And up here is just like a chenille yarn that I just twisted together to make it a bit thicker. Because I did have like the really thick stuff, but I can't find it. And then and you can see it here, I hot glued it on. I wasn't gonna sew this on. But anyway, it's cute. So I'm not exactly sure like if I'm gonna fill these with candy or do something or just have them Currently they're just sitting up on one of my shelves here. But it was fun, you know, just like an hour or so to do each one. Used up some yarn. And then lastly is my crochet advent project, which is not going so well. So what I started was the Baubles and Berries wrap. And this is a pattern from Sandra of Cherry Heart, Sandra Paul. And I purchased this pattern a couple years ago. And you can buy her patterns on Ravelry and Etsy and Lovecrafts maybe. So her original one called to use your Advent minis if you get an Advent yarn calendar. So I don't have that, but I did want to use this yarn, which every time I take this somewhere and I'm working on this project, everybody loves this yarn, and it is very pretty. So I have 2 skeins or cakes of this, and this is Universe Christmas from Hobby Yarns, and it's just an acrylic. And I mean, it's just sparkly and festive and fun. So it's a fingering weight. So between the two, I should have the same amount of yardage as if I was using 24 20-gram minis in fingering weight. Okay, the thing is, I feel like this project is for crocheters who don't do anything else. Because, and I'm not a super fast crocheter, but I'm also not a super slow crocheter. I'm in fact, and when it comes to crochet, I'm like as average as you can get. So it's each day is a 9-row repeat, and it takes me over an hour and a half to do each section of 9 rows. And then when you get done the 9 rows, that you start again. So because of that, I think 9 rows is a big repeat. I know for some people it's not. I find it difficult to remember the stitches from the section before, the corresponding section before. So I'm always having to look it up. For instance, I'm always having to look up how to do this bobble stitch. And I feel like I'm not even getting it right every time because some of my bobbles are just flat. So I find that a little bit frustrating. If it was 45 minutes to an hour, I'd probably be okay with it, but I feel like it's too long because I do have a lot of other things, as you can see, that I'm doing. It is very pretty though. This is how it's working up. That's really nice. I like the pattern. I feel like there's also, like, I'm counting a lot, and thank goodness every time I get to the end of the row my counts match up, so hallelujah, that's a blessing. Yeah, it's just that it's taking me longer than I thought. So I will continue to work on it until Christmas and see how far I get, but truthfully I haven't worked on this in a week. I took it to my yarn club last week, and I know you're chatting and everything, so you're going to be slower, but in 2 hours I wasn't even done one section, so I figured if I'm home and I'm not talking to anybody and nobody's, you know, talking to me, I would be probably an hour and a half at best to do each section. So anyway, that's where we are with that. I mean, nothing, yeah, there's not a lot to talk about here. But at least I got 2 sections done, so I guess I'm grateful for that. So a little bit disappointing because I was hoping to have, you know, 2 completed Advent projects done. Thankfully, I didn't pick anything for quilting or sewing. Yeah, which I'm going to talk about now. So, I finished my goose pillow. I think in my last video I just showed you the panel, but I did get it. I got it quilted and I got it put into the pillow. I did a hidden zip, which I've never done before, and it was super easy. I just watched a video on YouTube, which was like 30 minutes and could have been about 10 minutes, but anyway. Yeah, like that. So he lives out with the rest of the Christmas decorations, and I just think he's so cute and fun. And this isn't really quilting, but since they're here, I thought it might be fun to do a non-quilty project. So I looked up some YouTube videos that I had saved to watch later and never have. So I made these little ornaments. These are just, I think they're called folded, yeah, just folded fabric ornaments. And there are a couple tutorials on YouTube about this. And you just, you cut 2 circles, you sew them together, and then you just fold them up in certain ways. So the first one I made was this one, and I thought with the turquoises and the white and silver, I could keep that in my craft room, which I almost have decorated for Christmas, but it's slow going this year. I'm not sure why. And that's the back. And then I wanted to make some traditional red and green ones. So this was my next one. And that's the back. And then the next one is, it's the same fabrics, it's just that I reversed the order of folding. And I thought this one would be my favorite. That sort of seems like a poinsettia, but actually this one is my favorite. So I got to dig into my Jingle Bells and just do something quick and easy, which was fun. Then I started, I don't know if I said I was going to start this or not. It's a wall hanging, and this was from Winter 2019 of Primitive Quilts and Projects, which sadly has gone out of business, and I think it's end of December, middle or end of December, they will be closing up their website for good. So anyway, this is the project, and I just got a few things started, and then I realized I have no white rickrack, which is really weird for a sewer, but anyway, so I have to go pick some of that up, hopefully tomorrow, and then I can get back to this. Because I thought that would be something that's quick and fun, and then I could actually be finished and hang it up in my kitchen. But we'll see. As you can see, I have a lot to do. And then the last thing that I've been working on is, it's my husband's quilt. I think I showed the quilt top, I don't know, a couple videos ago. So last week I got it quilted, and now I just have to put the binding on. I'm hoping to have that done in the next week, and I'm going to wrap it up. So that'll be before I do my next video. So you won't see it then, but I'll just show it to you, and you'll have to just excuse the binding that's not stitched down yet, because I do that by hand. So I'm figuring it's going to take me another 3 hours. So this was a layer cake. I have no clue what it is. I found a bunch of 10-inch squares in my stash this summer when I was going through it. I think a friend of mine gave it to me. So I don't know if it was a layer cake or if it was just somebody's 10-inch squares. But I stitched those together with some French General fabric. And this was a free pattern on, I can't remember. If you really want to know, just put a message in the comments and I'll tell you. It's either Wyndham Fabrics or Kaufman. It's very, very easy. The only thing is you are sewing on the bias, so you just need to be a little bit careful how you're doing that. And this is just a lap size. It's not terribly big, but just something for him to throw on top of him when he's watching a movie or something. And that's that. Oh my gosh, I feel I did talk a mile a minute, but I didn't want this to be terribly long. And you see, for a quick video, it was still 30 minutes. So anyway, I'm just gonna keep working away. I did get my Christmas cards cut out. I just need to assemble them, and the goal is to have that finished by the end of the week so I can get them in the mail. And yeah, finish my gift stitching soon, because it obviously does have a time limit. And I gotta finish doing my craft room. I would love to do a tour of it, and I will try next week once I get it done. I'm going to try it on my phone, hopefully. But anyway, that is my Christmas crafting update. So I would hope to be back in a couple weeks just so I can hopefully show you all these finishes. Yeah, so we're gonna try that just to keep the videos a little bit shorter because I know there's a lot to watch this time of year. Lots of fun Vlogmas videos and all of that good stuff. So I'm going to sign off for today. I hope you're having a wonderful day, and thank you again for coming to watch and subscribing and sharing my video and all that stuff. I really, really do appreciate it. And we will talk again. Happy days, friends.